Hi, I'm Randy Robison. I have Caine with me. Always a blessing to have her with us because we partner with her in so many ways in ministry and missions. Christine, thanks for coming up.
I love being here. Thank you so much for having me.
So, I want to know what is going on because we work with you on the getting girls out of sex trafficking, rescue life, but you guys are right in the thick of it. It's been on your heart for a long time.
Very much. We've been going for 9 years. There's a couple of major, obviously the issue is so devastating, it's so huge, as we all know, and there's a lot of us rolling up our sleeves on the ground making a difference, and I thank God for your partnership right from the outset. That's kind of really helped us make some inroads. We now have 14 offices set up in 12 nations of the earth, which is fantastic in terms of being able to really connect globally to stop trafficking rings and kind of, one country be able to help the other. But obviously we're in the midst of the largest humanitarian crisis since the Second World War with the Syrian refugee crisis. So in Thessaloniki, Greece, we have our, that was our headquarters where we first started. You guys first started working and partnering with us. And only 20 minutes away, 85% of all of those Syrian refugees were crossing the border into Macedonia, into Europe. Yeah. Well, of course, then that's all been blocked off now. So now what you have is tens of thousands of refugees just in camps with nowhere to go. Now, those that are most vulnerable and at risk of being trafficked are refugees because nobody knows where they are or who they are. Nobody's looking for them. Nobody knows that they've gone. So what we had just 2 weeks ago, we have set up big water containers with hotlines and information in Farsi and different languages about trafficking because these children and women and families are so at risk of being trafficked because smugglers will either trick them, lie to them, promise them all the normal sort of stuff, promise them a better life, and then end up trafficking them. Well, one of the girls took down our hotline number, and what the traffickers had done, they had taken 77 of them, chained them into a basement up there in northern Greece. Because she had the hotline number, she was able to text Interpol, the Greek authorities, and A21 were able to go and rescue the 77 of these victims. Wow. Unbelievable. Wow. What is also horrific is there's been cases documented where they have found bodies with surgical cuts and organs removed and eyes removed because for organ transplanting. Yeah. So what they do then is they traffic organs. That is not an unusual thing. A21 has been involved in legal cases with those issues before. But when you have a large humanitarian crisis, nobody's looking. Nobody knows these people are gone. Yeah. People devalue people. This is what happens. So that is really, really horrific. And we're seeing great breakthroughs in other ways. Our national hotline in different nations are really fun. We're finding people are using them. They're reporting cases of suspected trafficking, and we have had traffickers prosecuted, victims rescued because of that. And we've got a really neat thing happening with the Brazilian Olympics. Now, most major global sporting events, be it even here, the Super Bowl here in North America,
because it was in Dallas not
too long ago. And World Cup soccer. So what they do is they traffic a lot of women and children in, and men, and then often use them for sex trafficking. So what we did in the World Cup, which is the largest sporting event in the world. It's the World Cup soccer event. All the countries of the world are involved. I know you guys like to think the Super Bowl is the biggest event, but there is the World Cup.
No, I was in Italy during the World Cup many years ago. Yeah, I get it.
So, when you have a soccer penalty, you get a red card, yellow card, and if it's a penalty, it's a penalty. Well, what happened was we started this campaign with the British government, law enforcement, and child protection services, and A21, called It's a Penalty, because historically, if you went to one of these countries and you had sex with an underage minor, it's a little bit like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. You couldn't get prosecuted. There was no law, you were protected back in your own country. You couldn't prosecute. Well, what we did was work with different governments, got laws passed. So therefore, if you do that over there, it's a penalty back in your country, which is fantastic. Like for legally, that means, if something's a crime, you can prosecute it. But if it's not a crime, you can't prosecute it. So now with the Brazilian Olympics, we're very excited because we've got so far 14 airlines that have signed up to do this. And so for 4 weeks leading up to the Olympic, the duration of the Olympics, after every Every time a medal is presented in the main arena and every other venue, we have a 2-minute video that highlights it's a penalty and trafficking and what it is and what's going on. So that means all of these airlines going in, you have to watch, you'll sit in your chair, there's the TV screen, you've got it,
audience,
that's it.
right?
And so they're anticipating that over 1 billion people are going to be made aware of the fact that it's a penalty, human trafficking is wrong, how does it happen, and what to do if you spot it at the Olympics. So we're just thrilled of what that's going to do.
And I was going to say, it seems like over the last 10 years or so, the awareness that this is an issue, and it's a global issue, and it's not just in, Thailand or something, but it's in your country.
Totally.
Whether it's the United States or Australia or somewhere in Europe or Brazil. Are people coming to grips with the fact that this is prevalent and it is big, but it is stoppable?
That's right, it is stoppable, and that's what I keep trying to do, is bring it from a hope perspective, because numbers can be overwhelming.
Sure.
When you see the enormity, 30 million slaves, can we really make a difference? Well, we actually really can, and it will take all of us. There are 7 billion people on the earth and 30 million slaves, so the odds are on our side if we actually, and the church, there is, up to 2 billion Christians of all denominations, but Christians on the earth. So 2 billion Christians, 30 million people trapped in slavery, and do the math. I think if we can just even awaken the church to it, and
Good
people
point.
become aware, we can actually eradicate this issue in our lifetime. And so I'm really excited about the awareness that's happening, but awareness is good to a point. You've got to then do the work of prevention, of rescue, and of restoration. And obviously, we're partnering together to do that. And that's not safe work. That can be very disheartening work. It's very disturbing work to see women and children that have been sold into brothels and or being sold into forced labour and working 18, 19 hours a day for little to no remuneration. It is gut-wrenching and it's devastating. And to see it systemically in countries, it just breaks my heart.
The other side of that coin, because it is all of those things.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you see that one girl or woman who's been rescued and brought out?
That's what keeps us going. It's the one people go, well, it's just one, and it's just a drop in the ocean. I go, but it takes a lot of drops to make an ocean, and every drop matters. And I think you either believe it or you don't. And so people might think, well, you're not really changing the world, but you are changing the world for that one person.
Absolutely.
And I myself was a victim of abuse for many, many years. Well, just because I was one, did that make me not important? I mean, didn't I want to be rescued? Didn't I want to be delivered? Didn't it make a difference for my life? So I think that, especially as Christians and followers of Jesus, Jesus never gives us the option to forget the one. In fact, he came for the one, and he talks about one lost coin, one lost son, one lost sheep. I think Jesus, of all people, is the one that says to his church, oh, the one matters. It really matters. So that fuels me to keep going and to not lose heart in this fight.
That's why it's exciting to partner with you guys. We appreciate everything you guys do and glad that we can play a part.
We love you. Like, we could not do it without you. And I want to thank you, Andy, because LOA, right from day one, your mum and dad just jumped on board, and this whole ministry jumped on board, and we would barely even prove it. I was passionate and full of vision. And you know what? You guys sewed in at that point, and look what the Lord has done. I mean, it is marvelous. And we're still partnering, and we're still going forward. And I believe our best days are still to come.
I'm with you on that. You can see more about what she's doing at a21.org. Of course, you can read more about Rescue Life, where we partner with her and other organizations to get girls out of sex trafficking, primarily girls, but it is boys too.
Boys too.
And that's at lifetoday.org. And final thing, you can see more of Christine when she's on our broadcast program. You can watch that show at lifetoday.org. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the subscribe button because we want to let you know about all the great videos from Life Today.